A warning before you listen.
What you are about to hear is not meant for children, nor for the faint of heart. This is an unfiltered retelling of ancient myths, told as they were born, raw, violent, unsoftened. Expect scenes of brutality, curses that linger, betrayals that reshape fate, and a hunger for power that shows no mercy. These myths were never meant to lull children to sleep. They were forged in blood, shadow, and fire. So ask yourself, are you ready to hear them as they were first told? Sources and references can be found in the episode description.
In this audio epic, we tell the story of the division of the cosmos. Prologue. After the war. A world without a ruler. When Cronus fell, peace was not born. The skies trembled, not in relief but in rage, as tyranny was ripped from its throne. The earth still steamed with the heat of the Titan's final march, and the air reeked of betrayal. Lightning hung in the clouds, wild and masterless, searching for a hand worthy of holding it. In that moment, there was no king, no law, no certainty, only ashes. Ashes covering the thrones of old, smoke rising from wounds that had not yet closed, and three brothers standing amid the ruin, each seeing the world through his own fire, each believing he alone had the right to inherit what remained. But the aftermath of battle is not peace. The silence that follows is not calm. It is a ringing in the skull that refuses to fade, a trembling in the ground that no longer knows who fell and who still breathes. Lightning still cracked across the heavens. The stones remained hot with the dying screams of crushed giants. There were no banners, no voices, no crown to be claimed. The throne stood abandoned. Blood clung to the steps like a curse. And glory? Glory stood alone, unclaimed, orphaned. The Olympians stood atop the wreckage of an age, frozen. Even the goddesses who had never touched a blade, like Themis, Lady of Justice, and Mnemosyne, Mother of Memory, watched from the shadows, as if silence itself had become law, as if wisdom had chosen to observe rather than act. Zeus gazed upward, as though asking the sky itself, "Am I next?" Poseidon kept his eyes on the distant sea, as if the depths were calling him home. And Hades did not speak, did not move, did not smile. He stood atop a heap of corpses, his face a riddle carved in stone. No one dared to say, "I am king," because to say it was to invite the silence to strike back, to walk over the skulls of your own blood with open eyes. The war had ended, but no order had yet been born. The throne was empty, but no soul approached it. The sky waited, the sea growled, and the underworld breathed slow and heavy. Even the ageless beings, those who do not die, felt it in their bones. Something was unfinished. Victory without a crown is only another kind of death, drawn out and cruel. And so, need was born, the need for choice, for rule, for someone bold enough to divide the cosmos. But who dares to stand on the throne, still soaked in the blood of time? Who dares to risk becoming the next Cronus? And so, the world remained crownless, the gods without a map, and the sky without a master. Until, from somewhere deep and nameless, a voice rose, a whisper that carried like thunder. Gather, for silence does not rule the cosmos. Chapter 1. From the Epic of the Division of the Cosmos, the Gathering of the Gods, the Rise of Zeus as Leader. The earth had not yet cooled. Blood still clung to the roots of mountains. The birds had not returned, and laughter forgotten. But Zeus did not wait. He stood upon a jagged stone ripped from the heart of fallen titans, his body still soaked in the sweat of war, his breath ragged but unyielding. With a voice like thunder tearing through silence, he cried out to the gods who had stood too quiet for too long. Tyranny has fallen, but if we do not rule, chaos will rise again from the ashes. This was no plea, no proposal. It was a decree, unchallenged, as if the very sky had found its voice in his lungs. The gods turned toward him, their swords still heavy in their hands, their limbs swollen with the memory of battle, but in their eyes, hesitation, and deep in their spirits, the shadow of Cronus still lingered. Zeus was not the eldest among them, nor the wisest nor the strongest, but he was the only one who did not flinch as he stepped toward the scorched throne. He said, "The war is over, but order has not yet been born, and if we let the cosmos breathe without a map, we will become the new Titans." Ares gripped his spear, not in defiance, but like a warrior bracing for a storm.
Athena met his gaze with the eyes of reason. She nodded, subtly, as if to say, "The lightning is in your hand, but don't forget, it burns." Poseidon stood apart, his gaze locked on the distant glimmer of the sea. His eyes screamed, "Why him?" But his lips held their silence. And Hades looked at no one, as if the decision was beneath him, or as if the underworld did not care who ruled the land above. Then, Zeus raised his hand, and the wind stopped moving. He pointed toward the mountains and declared, "These are our peaks. From here we shall rule, not with cruelty nor with blood, but with a law stronger than iron." He spoke not for applause, but for a silence that recognized truth. And in that moment, the ground trembled, as if even the earth understood. A king had been born, not through blood alone, but through will. And so, amid the ruins, the first Olympian council gathered, not around a table, but atop the wreckage of tyranny. Zeus stood at the center, lightning in his grasp, his eyes watching time itself, not for what had passed, but for what was yet to come. In that moment, he was no longer just a god. He was a beginning, the voice of an age yet to be spoken. Chapter 2. From the epic of the division of the cosmos. The Great Draw. How the world was divided among the brothers. 3 brothers. Each carried lightning in his veins, a kingdom in his chest, and a silent question in his eyes. Who will the cosmos belong to? There was no table between them, no sword drawn. They chose something older than war, more ruthless than bloodshed, a draw. But what kind of draw decides the fate of the universe? Can the cosmos be split like spoils of conquest? Can chance balance between a god of storms, a god of tides, and a god who devours shadows? This was no game of luck. It was fate, spoken aloud. A silent vow that it is destiny, not desire, that shapes empires. Everything stilled. The mountains stood in judgment. The winds halted, as if even the air refused to exhale. And the cosmos itself waited for a single moment to decide everything. Zeus stood first, his hand pressed to his chest, his gaze cutting through the horizon like a blade of sky. And he spoke, "We will not become them. We will not replace tyranny with new names. We will not divide by sword, but by fate."
Then he called his brothers. Poseidon stepped forward, each footfall shaking the ground, the sea itself rising in his stride as if the tide had come to claim the land. Hades emerged like mist from behind the clouds. He said nothing. He never needed to. He was there, like death. Not summoned, only arriving when he wills it. Before all, an ancient urn was lifted. Inside, 3 stones, one to bear the sky, one to command the sea, one to descend where no light dares go. Zeus reached in first. He drew a stone, but kept it hidden in his palm. Then Poseidon, then Hades. Seconds passed, breaths held, and then time broke. Zeus raised his stone, and the heavens cried his name. Lightning split the clouds as if to say, "This is mine." Poseidon lifted his, and the horizon surged. The ocean swelled, waves howled like children finding their long-lost father. And Hades? He raised nothing. He turned and walked into the earth. The ground opened for him, not as surrender, but as recognition.
The draw was over, and the world had been divided.
Zeus became lord of the sky, Poseidon, master of the sea, and Hades, sovereign of the underworld. But there were no congratulations, no embraces. Each turned to his realm alone, and within each heart something remained unspoken, a thought not confessed, a bitterness that would not dissolve, for even the fairest draw cannot silence envy. It does not extinguish ambition, and it does not make one forget that each of them wanted it all. And so, in a single breath, the ancient throne became three, each towering in power, but forever apart. From that moment on, the cosmos was no longer whole. It became a shell, and beneath it, a fire that would never learn peace.
Chapter 3. From the epic of the division of the cosmos, Zeus, lord of the sky, thunder, and kings. Fate raised its hand, and the sky fell into the palm of Zeus. But it was more than sky. It was a throne sculpted from cloud, a dominion etched in lightning, a promise that could not be broken. From the moment his name was drawn, he ceased to be the mere son of Rhea, or the brother who overthrew Cronus. He became something else entirely, a law that stood above all law, a ruler matched only by time itself. The clouds gathered beneath him, the bolts of thunder waited, trembling for his voice. And when he spoke in anger, his words rained down as storms that woke sleeping mountains. He built his throne on a peak untouched by any foot, a summit no eagle could reach, no doubt could scale. And from that height, he looked down upon the new world with eyes that saw not mercy, but balance carved from steel. In Delphi, where the myths claimed the navel of the earth pulsed, they placed the sacred stones of the omphalos to bear witness. Zeus's throne was not only in the heavens, it was at the center of existence itself. From that center, he hurled lightning as if justice itself had been born from an unseen axis, felt but never found. Zeus was not gentle, nor was he cruel. He was the scale itself, tilting at injustice and standing firm when balance held. When he looked, storms went still. When he raged, the skies bowed in silence. The gods rose with him, but they did not sit beside him. They orbited him, like planets around a single burning sun. And for the first time since time began, the heavens had a sovereign to name, not just a god to be worshipped, but one to be feared and obeyed. Justice rested in his grasp, not inked in scrolls, not debated in temples, but forged in lightning, struck before spoken,
spoken through thunderclouds. Under his reign, the temples no longer called to the unknown. They called one name, Zeus, god of order, ruler of justice, keeper of the lightning that never missed. But Zeus, he did not forget. He did not forget how his siblings had been devoured. He did not forget the mothers silenced, or how the sky once trembled under his father's tyranny. And so he swore, chaos would never return, not on his watch. No matter the cost, war, betrayal, or blood. Zeus did not wear a halo. He made no claim to sainthood. He was a ruler who knew when to sheath the storm and when to split open the heart of anyone who dared cross his line. Thus began a new age, not of light, not of darkness, but of power, ruled by a hand wrapped in cloud. Zeus did not ask for loyalty, he commanded it. He did not inspire fear, he became it. And when thunder echoes across the heavens, you are not hearing the weather, you are hearing the king. The king who never descends, who never falls, who is seen only behind the clouds.
Chapter 4. From the Epic of the Division of the Cosmos. Poseidon, the throne of waves and earthquake fury. When the lot was cast, Poseidon did not smile, but he did not protest. The sea fell into his hand, and for a moment he simply stood there silent. Then he turned and walked slowly toward the endless blue, as if the waves had long been waiting to collapse beneath his feet. The ocean floor, the very bottom of the world, was now his dominion, and yet he felt no peace. He had wanted more. He had looked to the sky, to the throne of clouds, and thought, that should not belong to Zeus alone. But Poseidon did not rage aloud. He let his fury sink deep, boiling in the chest of the sea, wave after wave, until the entire ocean breathed with his pulse. Poseidon does not speak much, nor does he scheme. He is the child of blunt force, a fist that shatters stone. When he raised his trident, the waters tore apart to reveal a throne forged from dark blue storm. That trident, no ordinary weapon, had been a gift of war, crafted by the Cyclopes themselves, the same divine smiths who had forged Zeus's lightning, had melted iron in the furnace of their fury to forge this sacred triad. They gave it to Poseidon on the day of victory and told him, "This is not just your weapon, it is your signature." His throne was not built with columns, but carved by hurricanes. It was guarded by beasts, feared by sailors, and bowed to by ships, though they knew not why. While the gods climbed Olympus to raise their cups to the sky, Poseidon drank from the tide and stared upward, with eyes that hid nothing. And he said to himself, "I do not need wings to be a god. Let the skies rule themselves. The earth will drown if I am angered." The oceans became his body, earthquakes his voice, storms his sermons, understood only by those who sank in them. He preferred solitude, but when provoked, mountains shook, cities cracked. He appeared in the deep, and divers died before they could see his eyes. He rose on the coast, and the land itself would scream for its people to flee. Before he took a single step, Poseidon was no tyrant, but he would not be forgotten. He would not be second. He would not be ruled, not by a brother who had once stood as his equal. He was not a traitor. But he trusted no one. He did not laugh, and he never slept. He knew, as surely as the moon pulls the tide, that one day the three thrones would meet again. Not at a table, but at the edge of war. And so, deep in the heart of the sea,
Poseidon sat on his throne of storms, his eyes fixed on the horizon, and to the wind he whispered, "Tell the sky, the sea does not kneel." If you've made it this far, then you are truly a seeker of knowledge. Support this journey with a kind word, a simple like, or even a small subscription, for its impact is far greater than you think. Your voice is the one that keeps this saga alive. Chapter 5. From the Epic of the Division of the Cosmos, Hades, Lord of the Dead and Warden of the Underworld. When the draw ended, he said nothing. While Zeus blessed his throne among the clouds and Poseidon roared across his waves, Hades remained silent. He vanished, as if the earth itself split open just for him, swallowed him whole, then sealed without a sound. Hades did not raise banners in the sky, nor stake his claim on the oceans. He descended to a place beyond light, beyond sound, beyond names, a realm that is never visited except by the dead, and there he sat. No crown, no army, no celebration, only a throne of stone, guarded by unbreakable walls and breathless silence. With a single glance, he subdued the souls of the fallen titans. They knelt without resistance, not because he ruled fire, not because he ruled torment, but because he ruled forgetting. In his realm there is no daylight, no seasons, no hope, only stillness, and a justice that does not move but always remains. Hades does not like to be seen. He doesn't need to be spoken of. His presence alone is enough to make the cosmos tremble. Even the veil itself bowed before him, offering him the helm of darkness, the cap of shadow that makes its wearer unseen, unheard, and unforgettable. They say souls never see him when he comes, but they feel his cold, right before they die again. Even Olympus rarely whispers his name. The gods know. Those who dwell in the sky may be struck by lightning, those in the sea may drown, but he who dwells in the underworld, no one reaches him, and no one can pull him down. Hades does not govern death. He governs what comes after. He is the warden, the judge, the embodiment of oblivion. Everyone who enters his realm forgets who they were, and anyone who looks into his eyes sees what they fear most in themselves. He does not smile, he does not rage, but he reminds you, the end is not a door that closes, it is a pit that never returns what it swallows. Hades asked for nothing, yet he took everything with silence. He does not desire the skies, nor the seas, nor praise, nor damnation. He simply waits. Waits for those who thought they'd never die, for those who ruled, but never read the final line of their story. In his kingdom, there are no banners, no hearts, only an echo without end. Hades was not made to be loved. He was made to be feared. And so, he does not sit on a throne. He sits upon an idea that everything will end with him. He does not rule the living. He rules all who have ever lived, and all who will someday be dead. Chapter 6. From the Epic of the Division of the Cosmos. The Voice of Gaia. Warning from the Ancient Mother. From beneath every stone, from beneath the corpses of every fallen titan, from the wound in the earth that never healed since time was born, a pulse rose. It was not an earthquake, nor wind, nor the cry of any mortal throat. It was older, deeper, truer. A voice emerged from the belly of the world, carried not by air, but by soil that remembered every foot that crushed it and every drop of blood it ever drank. Gaia, the mother who birthed time, the titans, the gods, and even fear itself. Gaia,
who remained silent through every war, who did not intervene when Cronus devoured his children, who did not speak when Zeus shattered the sky with thunder, nor when the brothers divided the cosmos like ash through their hands. Now, only now, she spoke, and when the earth speaks, none dare interrupt. Mountains trembled, soil cracked open, roots writhed like awakened serpents, not from anger, but from memory. Memory of everything done to them. Tree roots splintered, and from the broken earth rose a voice. Neither warm nor wrathful, but prophetic. Gaia said, "You think the war is over? That lightning in the sky, thunder in the sea, and silence in the underworld are enough to rule the cosmos?" No one answered. Zeus clutched his bolt, but did not raise it. Poseidon gazed into the depths, as if searching for a place to hide. And Hades stopped breathing. Gaia said, "What is built on power will never bear justice. What is divided by the sword will never stop bleeding." Then her voice deepened. "You believe you've won? No. You defeated the Titans, but planted new Titans inside yourselves." Her words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. They pierced bone. They echoed in the places fire could never reach. She continued, "I am the earth, and I will bear witness when the three of you turn against each other, when Zeus believes the sky alone should rule, when Poseidon grows bitter from being forgotten, when Hades rises to remind you all that death never sleeps." Then the voice faded back into the deep, as if the earth had swallowed it, just as it once swallowed the first crime. The gods remained in place. They did not speak. They did not look at one another. They did not smile, for what had been said was no threat. It was a date with division, a date with betrayal, a date with a day yet to come, when only one question will echo louder than thunder. Were these the thrones Gaia dreamed of when she gave birth to you? Chapter 7. From the Epic of the Division of the Cosmos. The Great Divide. Was it a draw or a time bomb? The war did not end when Cronus fell. It began the moment each brother pulled a stone from the hand of fate. That draw was not justice. It was not wisdom. It was never a promise of peace. It was a pause, a fragile truce written in the eyes but never signed by the heart. From that moment, the cosmos was split, but never settled. Zeus looks to the sky and sees the sea stirring, inching closer. Poseidon glares upward and smells arrogance falling with the rain. And Hades? Hades looks at no one, but hears the footsteps of the world creeping toward his gates, day after day. He knows time favors no one. In the beginning, all was quiet, but the silence was strained. Their whispers in that quiet spoke louder than any war cry. Every meeting between the brothers was charged, a scene wrapped in stillness, yet full of unspoken truths. A glance from Zeus felt like an unissued command. A look from Poseidon like a slap that had not yet landed. And Hades's silence was a shroud laid over the table. Yes, the world was divided, but so were their hearts. Mortals worshipped Zeus, but feared Poseidon, and whispered in dread that Hades might one day cast them out without a word. Cities were built under the protection of the sky, but they trembled when the ocean growled and wept when their graves were opened before their time.
Even the gods themselves began to shift into quiet alignments. Some gathered beneath Zeus's lightning, some drowned willingly in Poseidon's current, and some sold their loyalty for safety in the cold halls of Hades. Each believed himself the rightful one, the most worthy, the strongest. But the truth, the draw was never a solution. It was a fracture, not a structure, a split that didn't mend but festered, a crack that began small and now grows wide enough to break the mountain in half. Was Gaia's prophecy true, or did the gods bring this curse upon themselves? Were they ever meant to share rule? Or is a world cursed when governed by three hearts beating in opposite directions? Now, Zeus sleeps with one eye open, Poseidon lashes the sea at every dawn, and Hades no longer sleeps at all. The draw. It wasn't justice, it was a bomb, a time bomb, buried beneath each of their thrones. And now, it has begun to count down. Epilogue. From the epic of the division of the cosmos. The cosmos was divided, but rule cannot be shared. When the draw ended, the conflict did not. It simply shed its voice and seeped into the lungs of gods. As a whisper only the breathless could hear, Zeus, high above, watched the clouds bleed lightning that struck no one, yet reminded all who truly owned it. Poseidon, in the deep, filled the sea with quakes waiting for a signal, as though the waves no longer wished to serve, but to rule. And Hades? Hades remained. He said nothing. He issued no threats, but his name alone was enough to close 1,000 doors in the chest of any man. The world seemed stable, but in truth, it was split. 3 realms, 3 wills, 3 gods, none of whom had forgiven the others. Why? Because rule cannot be divided, even if the earth is. Thrones do not recognize equality, power does not tolerate partnership, and each god among them believes he is the beginning, and he is the end. From this rift, danger is born. There is no war, but peace was never signed. There are no screams, but the silence is poisoned. The Titans have fallen, but tyranny did not die. It merely changed hands into fingers far more cunning. Gaia had warned them. The earth holds its breath. The skies withhold their rain. The sea swallows its rage day after day. But silence does not last. Because when power is divided, each part becomes a seed of betrayal. And those who live under the shadow of betrayal do not sleep. Now, each god sits smiling upon his throne, but in his chest a sword without a sheath waits for a moment. A fracture, a betrayal, a storm. This is the heart of the tale. What we call an ending is only the first step on a path far darker. And Gaia's voice never truly left them. It still whispers beneath every stone, warning of a day that has not yet come. This chapter of the epic has come to an end, but remember, what you've just heard is not a record of facts, but the echo of a myth, a story born from the imagination of the ancients, etched into the long memory of humankind. If this tale stirred something in you, if it opened a door to reflection or wonder, don't forget to support the channel and share the journey with those you love. And in the comments, tell us, which moment in this chapter struck you the most and why? We'll meet again in the next chapter of this audio odyssey through time. Until then, farewell.